All right, let's go rolling. Okay, so I want to go to the end of the parasha. The end of the parasha yesterday talks about Miriam and Aharon talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. ותדבר מרים ואהרון al Moshe. Miriam and Aharon, it says both of them, spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu. What did they say about him? Al debar hakushit, eshet hakushit, hakushit, asher lakach. It says they both spoke it. We learn from here the famous Hafid Haim that if you listen, it's like you spoke it. You're an accomplice. Aharon, the Gemara says Aharon, according to one opinion at least, Rabbi Akiva, Aharon got tzara'at also. Rabbi Akiva says in the Gemara. And then someone answers Rabbi Akiva, says, hey, Rabbi Akiva, if you're right or if you're wrong, you're in trouble either way. This is another person tells Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because if you're wrong, you're saying you motzi shemra on Aharon. You're saying he got something he didn't get. And if you're right, Hashem decided not to tell us, and you're telling us. This is Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara, Shabbat. But Rabbi Akiva says, I don't care. Aharon also got tzara, both of them. And so, what did they speak about? And so we know the famous midrash that Eldad u'Medad. Right before that is a story of Eldad u'Medad mitnaviim u'machaneh. Hashem added more prophets to the nation. And so two guys that kept on prophesizing, And so Yehoshua says, Moshe, hey, what are these two guys prophesizing? And they're saying all sorts of things like, you're going to die and I'm going to take over. And we know the famous midrash that Miriam is sitting there with the wives, with the women. And they say, oh, Eldad and Medad are not prophets. Wow, look at these. They got promoted. Hashem talks to them. How lucky are their wives? And Sipporah, Moshe's wife, says, how unlucky are their wives? And then they just basically lost their wives. Why? What are you talking about? Because my husband left me, she said. Moshe left me. Miriam apparently didn't know this. What? My brother left you? Because he's a prophet? Who does he think he is? That's not a reason to leave somebody. We're all prophets. That's what she said. And so Hashem punished her for saying this about Moshe Rabbeinu. How dare you compare yourself to Moshe Rabbeinu? Yes, you're all prophets, but you can't compare. Okay. So I want to give you just a couple of insights on this. Number one, I've said this, I think, like 2 or 3 years in a row. I always find it ironic that the punishment, Hashem's punishment, is always perfect. Akiva, I think I said this last year. Tell me. What did Miriam speak about? Alisha Kushit, that she was with a black woman. He married a black woman. And what was her punishment? She became white with Sarah. And so you like white. You like white. You know, okay. I'm gonna make you as white as snow. So I'm gonna make you. I always find that very ironic. However, the Gemara in Shabbat. I'll go to Hatam Sofer first. Hatam Sofer says something interesting. He says that there's a halacha in Ibn Izir, the section of Shulchan Aruch that talks about laws of marriage and your duties to your wife. Most of the marriage laws are us, what the men owe our wives. And so if you read the laws of marriage in Siman 76 in Ibn Izir, it talks about how you owe your wife relations. In America, everything's backwards. In America, they made it that the wife owes husband relations. Really, according to the Torah, the relations belongs to the wife. It's a benefit to the wife. And she has to take it from us. So if she wants relations, we have to provide a relation. It's called ona. And so how often does a person have to be with his wife? Let's say he wants to go get an extra job. I want to work extra hours. I don't want to always be with my wife. My wife can demand that I have to be available to her. And so there's Shulchan Aruch about this. There's laws. It says, onota ketzad. How often do you have to be with your wife if she wants you? Kol ish hayav be'ona kefi krohov uchfi melachto. It depends on your energy and it depends on your job. If you have a job that's very demanding, your wife can't demand more than your job can allow. Okay. Ve'atayalim, people who don't work, on time b'chol laila. If she wants you every night, you got to be available every night. No drinking with the friends, no going to the bar. If you have no job, you have no job. Hapo'alim, if you're a worker, if you work locally in the city, pa'amayim b'shabbat, you owe her twice a week if she wants. If you travel to another city, now I'm not sure if the city qualifies as another city. Los Angeles City, it's pretty traffic. You got to be home once a week for her. Hahamarim, these are donkey drivers. In the olden days, they had to take long journeys with donkeys before Uber. Pa'am ahat b'Shabbat. You got to be home once a week. So you got to take your job, take your clients. You got to come back and make sure you don't go 2 weeks in a row. Come home once a week. Hagamalim. Oh, the gamalim. Wow. The gamalim are the long distance taxi drivers. They had the camels. Camels can travel for a very long time without drink. Ahat b'shloshim yom. These guys, their job was to be long distance moving. Once a month, you have to come back for your wife. Hamalahim is a sailor. You're on a boat, forget about it. Ahat l'shisha chodashim. You got to come home once every 6 months, twice a year. Talmidei Chachamim, if you're a rabbi, onatam pa'am ahat b'Shabbat. Once a week. Friday night is the night for the rabbis. B'derech Talmidei Chachamim l'shamesh mitatan milelei Shabbat l'Shabbat. Friday night is the night, the good night, as the Zohar always, right? The Zohar talks about this all the time, how Friday night is the night for Tashmish. Okay. However, the halakha is as follows. Yesh la'isha, I'm still reading Shulchan Aruch. Yesh la'isha le'akev al ba'ala shelo yetze l'tzchora ela lemakom karov shelo yemana me'onata. A wife has the power to tell her husband, oh, you got a promotion. You're now the traveling salesman. I veto that promotion. I don't allow you to take this job. You can't switch careers on me. When we got married, you got locked into what you were. You were an Uber driver. You can't go decide to be a long distance driver. You're going to negatively affect me, and you owe me certain things as a wife. So I don't care about your promotion. I veto it. V'lo yetze ela b'shuta. You cannot go unless she gives you permission. Right? When I got married, I wasn't traveling salesman. Now I'm traveling salesman. I had to ask my wife. I said, I got a promotion. I have to travel a lot. Yes, I agree. Huh? Well, what was he doing? That's the difference. Listen, that's not that, that's where we're going with this. Hold on. He says, וכן יש לה למנעו לצאת ממלאכה שעונתה קרובה למלאכה שעונתה רחוקה. A wife has the power to veto your career change. Because if you're going to switch to a career that's going to make you more money, but it's going to make you less at home, she can protest. And if you refuse, she could demand a divorce, and you have to pay her all the money in her ketuvah. You're violating your marriage contract. Okay. Kigon hamar shebikesh le'asot gamal. If you're a donkey driver, short distance, and you said, you know what, I want to go be a camel driver, long distance, or gamal le'asot malach, or I'm a camel driver, I want to go be a sailor, which takes me out for 6 months. She can say, no, I don't let you do this. B'talmidei hachamim yotzim letalmud Torah shelo b'shut neshotehem. However, if you want to be a rabbi and you want to go learn, the woman cannot protest this career change. As long as you have to have money on the table. We're never going to be free from putting bread on the table and a roof over her head. If you can figure out a way to pay all the bills and give her everything she needs and learning kollel and be a rabbi, she cannot protest the change, which means now you only have to be there once a week and she cannot protest. Says the Hatam Sofer, an interesting concept. Isha kushit lakah. What is Miriam saying about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu said, I can't be with my wife anymore. Why? Because Hashem talks to me all the time. I got to be available to talk to Hashem. That's my career. So Miriam is saying, did you think you married a regular Jewish girl? A regular Jewish girl can't protest if you want to be a rabbi. Why? Because we have a stam da'at. There's an assumption. A regular, born and bred Jewish girl wants her husband to succeed in spirituality. Even if she says she doesn't, she really wants you to be a rabbi. But you married a kushit. She converted. She wasn't brought up with this. You can't assume that your wife that was a convert grew up with these values that she wants you to go and leave her and be a rabbi. And so therefore, who told you can go away from her? Hatam Sofer. A beautiful Hatam Sofer. There's a Gemara in Shabbat, and I always actually wanted to read this to the ladies. We're not going to do the whole thing today. I'll do a little bit by heart, and that's it. But one day, I really want to do the whole Gemara. The Gemara in Shabbat that goes through the whole Aleph Bet. It's a well-known Gemara, and it says what each letter of the Aleph Bet is. And so Aleph means to learn. Yalif, Yalfuta. It means to study in Aramaic. Aleph. Bet is for Bina, understanding, knowledge. So Aleph Bet means to study Torah, basically. Gimel, Gimel, Gamal, Gimilut Hasadim. It means deeds, to do good deeds. Dalet, Adal, is a poor person. Each letter of the Hebrew Lashon HaKodesh alphabet, each letter, the word has a meaning itself that reflects on the letter, the power of the Hebrew language. So Aleph means to learn. Bet, Bina, to understanding. Gimel, to do deeds of kindness. And Dalet, who do you do the kindness to? To a poor person. And He is Hashem. So the Hatam Sofer says another beauty. Miriam saying Moshe Rabbeinu left his wife. I didn't leave my husband. She is a prophet. Aharon, did you leave your wife? Elisheva? No, I'm with my wife. What's the difference between the two of you? Well, Moshe Rabbeinu, he learns a lot more Torah. True, he learns a lot more Torah. However, you do a lot more Hesed than he does. So let's look at the words of I wish I had a Chumash with me. Let's look at the words. Maybe I'll do it by heart. Miriam says, Harak. Let me get it right. Thanks, Eddie. Let's look at Miriam's words where she claims she's accusing Moshe Rabbeinu. At the end of the parasha, in Behaalotecha. These are the words of Miriam. She says, Harak ach b'Moshe diber Hashem. What? Only with Moshe? Hashem speaks. Halo gambano diber. He also talks to us. Says the Hatam Sofer. Take the first letter of each of these words. When she's talking about Moshe, Harak ach b'Moshe diber Hashem. Harak, hey. Ach, aleph. Bet b'Moshe, bet. Diber dalet, it skips the gimel. And then Hashem. So Moshe Rabbeinu has the aleph, bet, which is aleph bina, learn Torah. He skips the gimel because he's not doing hesed all day long. He's up in Shamayim. He's down to the dalet. Yes, he's teaching the Torah to the dalet, to the poor people, with Hashem. He's completely spiritual. Aleph, bet, no gimel for Moshe. Dalet, hey. But you, Aharon, halo gambanu diber. Hey. Gimel, bet, dalet, no aleph. And so Aharon, yes, Moshe is aleph, bet, dalet, hey. But you are bet, gimel, dalet, hey. So you're both missing one letter. You, Aharon, are bet, gimel, dalet. With your understanding, with your bina, your gimel, dalet, your gimilut hasadim tadal, you help the poor people in Hashem's name. So you're both missing a letter. He's missing the gimel, and you're missing the aleph. Or even, the Hatam Sofer says. Why does he think he's better? Just because he's in Kolel all day long? You do mitzvot all day long. But obviously she was wrong. And why? Because the Gemara Shabbat that we learned in the Gemara class, Gemara Shabbat says, Moshe Rabbeinu made a kavah homed. A kavah homed is when you say, if I'm taller than my baby, for sure I'm taller than my 10-year-old. No, the opposite. If I'm taller than my 10-year-old, for sure I'm taller than my baby. It's kavah homed. Kavah homed means if on the light one you have A, then on the heavy one you have. If on the heavy one you have A, then on the light one you have A for sure. Moshe said, the Bnei Israel, Hashem said they have to come get the Torah, and he's going to speak with them. And because of that, they had to separate from their wives for 3 days just to hear Hashem say one thing to them. Me, that Hashem talks to me every single day, multiple times a day even, I have to separate from my wife. It's called a homed. In Shabbat, right? And Hashem agreed with him. Hashem said, you're right. You know what? You're special. I need you available all day long. But at least we have a little bit of the thought process of Miriam, of her claim against Moshe Rabbeinu from these two Hatam Sofers. Now, how did Moshe Rabbeinu heal her sarah? What did he say? These magical words. He said, El na refa na la. El Hashem na means please. Rabbi Victor Miller says, you know what na means? Na actually means now. If you look at the English words, now, na. Why? Where's another place we have the word na in the Torah? That doesn't mean please. 10 points. 10 points. Where in the else of the Torah do we have the word na where it doesn't mean please? Yes, please. Korban Pesach. Al tochilu mimenu na. Don't eat the Korban Pesach when it's na. What is na? It doesn't mean, huh? Al tochilu mimenu na doesn't mean, it doesn't mean don't eat the Korban Pesach, please. It means don't eat the Korban Pesach raw. R-A-W, raw. Na means uncooked. The halabim, we have a little meat pastry we call kibbeh. Kibbeh is raw meat. It's a kibbeh, it's stuffed with raw meat. It's like a raw meatball. I don't eat it, but my grandparents used to eat it. Look at Rashi on this Korban Pesach. Al na. Rashi says na b'lashon Arabi. I don't know if this is Arabi, but it says na naya. Naya means raw. You cannot eat the Korban Pesach uncooked. Says Rabbi Victor Miller, na means now. Na means immediately, too soon, right now. And that's why when someone says na, raw means now, immediately. And when someone says, please, 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 what do you mean? It's urgent. I need you now. Na, please actually means now. What's another example? One more. When a girl makes a vow, her father has the ability to uphold her vow, or a young girl, or her father has the ability to annul her vow. What is the word to annul? Im heni avia hahota. Heni. That's again that shortish nun aleph, which means immediately when I heard it, I stopped it. Right now, over. I put an end to it. And so na, please means urgent, right now. SOS, refa, na, heal her now. El na, refa na la, heal her. We know he doesn't use Miriam's name. Heal her. Imam Berachot says, page 34, we learn from here, when you pray for someone, you don't have to mention their name. Hashem knows exactly who you're talking about. Moshe didn't say, El na refa na le Miriam bat Yocheved ve'amram. La is what? Is it? I don't know that. You do the calculation. Add it up. El na refa na la. Heal her. Anonymous, pronouns. And so it seems from this Gemara says you don't have to say someone's name. So when someone is sick, and you're praying for them, should you say their name or should you not say their name? We all are, we're saying names all day long. We're busy with saying names all the time. But the Gemara says not to. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do it. However, it's not so clear because there's a couple of stories in the Gemara Ta'anit. The first one's page 23b. Gemara Ta'anit says there's a story by the name of Rabbi Yitzhak ben Eliashiv. A rabbi went over to Rabbi Yitzhak Eliashiv. It's kind of a weird story. And he said, Rabbi, I have a problem. He said, what's your problem? He said, I am no longer attracted to my wife. She got old. She got uglier. She used to be prettier. This is a story in Ta'anit. I have a problem. I can't get attracted to her. What am I supposed to do? And so the rabbi said, we have to fix that. He said, what's her name? He said, her name is Hannah. Rabbi says, Tityafe Hannah. May Hannah be beautiful. The guy went home, poof. The guy was like, unbelievable. She was drop dead gorgeous. Hannah was beautiful. He fixed the problem. He goes home. She looks in the mirror and says, wow, check me out. Now I'm beautiful. She starts getting arrogant. She starts going out with friends. Before you know it, she's the 10 and he's a 2. And she's better. She married down. She starts treating him like trash. now she's much better than him. So he goes back to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I have a problem. He said, what's the problem? He says, my wife Hannah, her head is in the clouds. She thinks she's everything now. I'd rather her be uglier. And so he says, Tahazor Hannah, let her go back to the way she was. This is a story in Ta'anit. We see from the Gemara Ta'anit, he says, what is her name? What do you have to ask what her name is? Just say, may your wife be beautiful. The fact that he said Tityabe Hana, may Hana be beautiful, shows you should say her name. That's a complete disagreement, contradiction with the Gemara Behaalotecha. Which one is it? Do you say the name or not? There's another Gemara on Ta'ani 2 pages later, page 25, a story with Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. He was a miracle worker. A woman, one of his neighbors, was building her house. She was renovating her house. And it wasn't like these days you hire a contractor. She was doing it in a Home Depot, DIY, do it yourself. And she bought beams for her roof to cover her roof. The problem is she didn't measure right. And she already spent all her money on the roof beams. So she goes to the rabbi. She says, Rabbi, it's her neighbor. So he's like, what's going on? She said, I have a big problem. What's the problem? He said, I made the walls of my house, but I shorted the roof. It doesn't rest on the walls. What am I supposed to do? So he says, what's your name again? His neighbor. I think he would know his neighbor's name. He asked her for a reason. What's your name again? My name is Echu. He says, may the ceiling of Echu stretch. And all of a sudden, the beams stretched, and they went out so far, the Gemara says they were ama over the walls, with room to spare. See over there, what do you got to ask her name for? First of all, you know her name. She's your neighbor. When you gave the beracha and you prayed for her, you specifically wanted to use her name. So which one is it? When you pray for someone, do you want to use their name, or do you just want to go anonymous like Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Ben Ish Hai, he says there's a difference between this story and Midian. He says that we know that the name of a person contains the mazal of the person. As we know, there's a very famous hazal. When a father and a mother give a name to a baby, that is as close to prophecy as any of us will ever get. It's almost like a prophecy where in heaven they say, the name you should give your child. And all the power of the baby is in the name. So your name is very powerful, which is why we don't like to get involved with nicknames, right? You want to use your real name. Your name has your power of your mazal. Okay, that's why a lot of times they switch their name when they're feeling no mazal, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. You want to make sure you consult with someone because you're switching your mazal if you switch your name. So it says in Shai, very interesting and very simple. When you want to give someone a blessing, to give them something positive to increase their lot in life. I want your ceiling to stretch, or I want your wife to be beautiful. You're adding shefa and berachat to the world. You could use their name. Their name already has luck. I want to increase your luck. But if someone is suffering, someone is sick, lo alenu, or someone's going through a hard time, obviously their name is bad luck right now. Why would you use more of their name to stretch out more bad luck onto them? Ignore the name. Hashem, I don't want to use her name. Her name right now is in the bad list. Let me go anonymous and not use a name. And this is Ben Ish Hai's answer. When someone is sick, don't use the name because they have obviously a decree on that name. Another reason for the Ben Ish Hai, the Ben Yahu in his other sefer, he writes, when you want something to happen within the laws of nature, you don't have to create a new creation in the world. Everything that's within the laws of nature, Hashem already created the dynamics for this to occur. Getting better of an illness where normal people recuperate from, Hashem already built into the laws of nature that you can get better. And so you don't have to use the name. It's already, the power is already in the creation. Just say, may you get better. If someone wants success with their business meeting today, in a normal business meeting, you say, you should have success. You don't have to say the person's name. But if you want to break nature and you want to make a brand new bidiyah, you want to make a brand new creation, like stretching someone's ceilings or making someone's face change, which doesn't happen normally in nature, you have to create, again, this vessel for this new concept to come down. You're creating something brand new. You need a name for this. You need a keli. The name is going to power it to happen. And that's the difference. Someone's sick. So it seems from this Ben Ish Hai, God forbid, if someone has an illness that normal people don't recover from, then you may want to use the name so you can create something brand new. It seems. It's not clear. You add the name. What? But you want tefillot though. You want tefillot. Right. You awaken the prosecution, Ben Ish Hai said. God forbid, if someone is suffering, there's a prosecution above, where there's a court saying, no, this person deserves X, Y, and Z, God forbid. And so you mention that person's name, everyone's going to say, yeah, that person. So you go anonymous. Just please heal her. Okay. Magen Avraham, Magen Avraham in Shulchan Aruch, he says probably the most well-known answer to this question. Magen Avraham says it's very simple. If you're right in front of the person and the person's right with you in the room, Hashem knows you're with this person. So just say, heal her or heal him. If you're not in front of the person, who are you talking about? So you have to tell Shamayim, who are you talking about? So you say the person's name. Which means Moshe Rabbeinu, he was right in front of his sister. And he says, Hashem, please heal her. But the other stories in Ta'anit, Hannah wasn't there, the wife wasn't there, the husband went to talk about the wife. So I have to use her name. And her ceiling wasn't there. She didn't bring the ceiling to the rabbi. Ceiling's in her house. I have to bless the ceiling with your name. This is the this is the Magen Avraham, very famous answer from Magen Avraham. And a lot of poskim hold this halakha l'maaseh. If you're in the room of the sick person, just say, Hashem, please heal him or her. If you're not physically with the person, use the person's name. Okay. What about using the parent's name? We're always using the parent's name. Ploni ben Ploni, Ploni ben Plonit. And if we use the parent's name, should it be the father's name or the mother's name? So there's a very clear Gemara. Gemara Shabbat, page 66b. Abaye says in the name of his mother. Abaye says a bunch of things in the name of his mother. She was a very wise woman. He says, my mother told me, anytime you pray, pray with the mother's name. Abaye says, straight out. Not sometimes, every time you pray for someone, use the mother's name. Why the mother's name, not the father? Yafele Lev says a very interesting answer. He says, we have a halacha. If the father is Jewish and the mother is not Jewish, the baby's not Jewish. But the vice versa. If the mother's Jewish and the father's not Jewish, the baby is Jewish. And so if you want to make a rule, pray for someone with their parent's name. What if the father's not Jewish? You're going to use the not Jewish name? If you choose the mother's name always, you're always going to be choosing the Jewish mother, the Jewish parent. And so for the people who don't have Jewish fathers, they're going to feel so embarrassed when it's time to pray for someone because their father is not Jewish, right? And so therefore, go with the mother. Every Jewish person, their mother's Jewish. No one will be embarrassed. This is Yafel Lev's answer. There's a Gemara in Berachot, page 55b, which is very interesting, page 55b, when I tell you what the Gemara is talking about. The Gemara says someone who's in a town or who moves to a new town, and he or she feels the ayin hara is on them, the evil eye. You feel that someone is giving you the evil eye, and it makes you very uncomfortable. What should you do? The Gemara says you should say out loud, I am so-and-so, the son or the daughter of so-and-so, who comes from the seed of Yosef HaSadik. And Yosef HaSadik, no evil eye ever got through him. Right? Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale Ayin. Yosef was above the eye. And so Yosef HaSadik, as we know, Yaakov told him, V'yidgu larov bekerav ha'aretz. May your children be like fish. Fish are low-key, under the water. No one can see the fish. Fish don't have the evil eye. And so therefore, the Gemara says, I, Ploni ben Ploni. Now there's a question in the text of the Gemara. Does the Gemara say Ploni? Ploni means so-and-so. Does it say Ploni ben Ploni, male, so-and-so ben Ploni, my father? Or should it say Ploni ben Plonit, so-and-so, the son of my so-and-so mother? Mahloket. Tosafot says, it's the female version. The Gemara should say Ploni ben Plonit. Me, the son of my mother. You should use your mother's name, not your father. Ben Ish Hai says, now why is it interesting? This is the page number. Remember the page number of this Gemara? Hamse. 55. Hamse. Stops the eye. I told you guys the Eliezer, the Ben Ish Hai about Eliezer, Eved Avraham, the servant of Eliezer, right? When Eliezer went to find a wife for Yitzhak, I told you this, Uncle Jack, no? When Eliezer went to find a wife for Yitzhak, and he goes to the well, and Rivka is bringing the water, what does it say? Ve'aish mishta'ela. The man was waiting la for her. Ben Ish Chai says, Ve'aish mishta'e la he. He was waiting for the hamse. He said, wow, what a great girl. Bili ayin hara. The 5 wards off the evil eye, the hamse. This is what Ben Ish Chai says. Ve'aish mishta'e la. Even Eliezer was giving her the hamse. This is Gemara page, hamse 55. Ben Ish Chai says, why the mother, not the father? He says, because women have much more merit in this world than men. You want to tap into the mercy of God, you want to tap into the mother. The number one reason, women are not obligated to learn Torah day and night. The number one thing they're going to ask us when we go up to Shamayim is, Kavata itima Torah. Did you learn Torah? Yeah, I learned Torah. Now, this is going to pain me to say this because I'm just like everyone else here. I work and I get tired also, but they're going to ask, I know they're going to do this. They're going to ask, did you learn Torah on Sunday? There's no work on Sunday. I'm afraid of this question. I am afraid of this question. I really am. There's no work Sunday. What's your excuse? The wife. Okay. What happens when everyone's out of the house? I don't know what to say. Maybe on Sunday we should learn a lot. Did you learn Torah on Thanksgiving? Or did you watch the Super Bowl? Memorial Day, you learned Torah. I'm afraid of these questions. And so the Ben Ish Chai says, men, as we say, tahad, nafluj, we say. We're scared. I don't know what's going to happen up there. But the women don't have this burden on them to learn Torah all day long. And so the women automatically, they have much more merit to tap into. Number 2, women have much more kapara. Women naturally have much more atonement in this world. They give birth, it's painful. They raise the children, it's painful. So they go through they're going through raking through the coals down here in this world. And so the women are much more spiritual. Ben Ish Chai also says, if you want to help someone, invoke their mother's name. Why? This is the words of the Ben Ish Chai. Most of the physical mazal of a person comes from their mother, not from their father. And most of the spiritual mazal of a person comes from their mother and not from the father. The Ben Ish Chai says. The mother, and he says a proof, you can have an old, sick man with a young, vibrant wife. They're together, they have a baby, healthy. But if it's the opposite, if you have an old, sick wife and a young, vibrant male, it's going to be hard to have a baby. It doesn't matter so much about the father's health. It matters about the mother's health. And so the Ben Ish Chai says the children follow the mother. Their mazal is linked with their mother. So ladies, and the panasah. So ladies, it's all on you. And so therefore you want to invoke the mother's name. If you look up the Kaf HaHaim, actually, if you want to look halakha l'maaseh, you look up the Kaf HaHaim, he says, this is in the laws of Yizkor. In Shulchan Aruch, Maran doesn't bring this down, but the Ramah brings this down that we mentioned in Nishamot with Yizkor. Kaf HaHaim says on the bottom, mention Yizkor, Hashkabah, with the mother's name, not the father's name. Why? Because go check out the Zohar in Parashat Lech Lecha, page 84. What does the Zohar say? I'll tell you. The Zohar says the most simple answer. Now, this is the Zohar, so it might be layers to it, but it's very simple. Why should you use the mother's name and not the father's name? On a very basic level. Because we know 100% who your mother is. We don't know 100% who your father is. And so maybe it's wrong. We'll wrap it up. So maybe you're getting it wrong, Chas v'shalom. If you're going to pray for someone, are you going to take that gamble? Or you want to go with 100% odds? And so the Zohar says, use the mother's name. What's the proof? It says the Zohar, Ve'oshia leben amatecha. David HaMelech says, Ani abdecha ben amatecha, ve'oshia leben amatecha. Help me, Hashem, the son of your maidservant. Says the Zohar. What? He's not the son of Yishai. Says the Zohar, the maidservant, the mother is where we go. We go to the mother because the mother is a dafka. Hacham Vadia talks about this in Yabi'a Omer. He brings all these sources, and at the end he says, it really seems that you should use the mother's name. And he even wrote this beautiful book here, Hacham Vadia, an Avelut, lo alenu. Hacham Vadia says, Behashkaba, when you do hashkaba for a person who passed away, minhag Sfaradim lomad Peloni ben Pelonit. Sfaradim minhag is to use the mother's name, al shem ha'em. Ashkenazim noagim lomad Peloni ben Peloni al shem ha'av. But the Ashkenazim use the father's name. Each one ya'asek minhagor. You could do whatever your minhag is. Why does it not really matter? Because honestly, you probably don't have to use the name in the first place, as we see from the Gemara. The Gemara don't even say you have to use the mother's name. Abaye's mother said use the mother's name. And so, according to Hacham Vadia, it seems from most of the poskim, it should be the mother's name across the board. But he brings Ashkenazi poskim who say the father. There's only one time in my little tiny head where I see we use the father's name, and that is by the Brit Milah. And I don't know why. So if you guys want to research this and let me know why we use the father's name by the Brit Milah when almost all the poskim and all the sources I bring are the mother's name. Okay, let's fast forward to the end. Yeah, they do that. But it seems a lot of the poskim say it should be the mother across the board. When I go to the Torah, they give me Mishabarach, I use Mordechai ben David. But I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It's already the minhag, so we keep it or leave it alone. But it really seems that the Gemara Abaye says straight out, the Zohar says straight out, use the mother, in life or in death. But it's minhag, so I don't want to change this. Huh? Or both. Some Ashkenazim do both. Yeah? And so therefore, whatever the minhag is, it's okay. You're not hurting someone. And so halakha l'maaseh, we do hold like this Magen Avraham. If you're with the person that you're praying for, they're in the room, and they're sick, or something bad is going on, they're suffering in work or something, don't use their name if you're with them. Don't invoke their name if you're with them. If you're not with them, you can use their name. And it appears the mother's name is better to use. But if it's your custom to use the father's name, that's the custom. Hacham Odia says at the end, whatever your custom is, it's okay. Okay. Now, just to wrap up, how did Moshe Rabbeinu heal his sister? And so we know, now the men that were in the Gemara class, they know the Kal Vachomer concept from the Ben Ish Hai, which is beautiful. I'll repeat it because I want to add one more thing. Ben Ish Hai says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, El na refana la. Now, El is one of the names of Hashem. El is also one of the 13 attributes of Hashem. Vayavor Hashem, al panav vayikra, Amonai, Amonai, El Rahum V'Hanun, Erech Apayim, and Chesed V'Emet. There's 13 attributes of Hashem. Ben Ish Hai quotes the Bnei Yissaschar, which is an interesting quote. The Hasidic rabbi. Ben Ish Hai quotes the Bnei Yissaschar that says, we have the 13 attributes of Hashem, right? Yaniv, you know this. And Uncle Jack, you know this also. The 13 attributes of Hashem, of Vayavor, and we also have B'shlosh esrem midot haTorah nedreshet. In the morning we say, there are 13 ways we learn the Torah in the Gemara. Kal Vachomer, Gezerah Shavah, Binyan Av. These are all rules of the Gemara, how the Gemara learns things out. Kal Vachomer is one. Like I said, if I'm taller than my 10-year-old, I'm taller than my 1-year-old. That's one way. Gezerah Shavah, it has the same word here. If it says Yom here and it says Yom here, then the same laws applies to both cases. Different rules in the Gemara. Says the Bnei Yissaschar, these 13 attributes of Hashem, of the Vayavor, correspond exactly to the 13 ways you learn the Torah. 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. And so he counts, now it's a big mahloket, how you count the 13 attributes of Hashem. It's a massive mahloket. But the Ben Ish Hai at least counts El as number 1. El Rahum V'Hanun, number 1. What's the first of the 13 ways we learn the Torah? Kal Vachomer. Moshe Rabbeinu left his wife because he made a Kal Vachomer. If the Jewish people have to leave their wives to talk to Hashem one time, me for sure, Kal Vachomer. Miriam didn't know this Kal Vachomer. She didn't learn this Kal Vachomer. She didn't agree with this Kal Vachomer. And so he's saying, Hashem, El. Hashem, the only reason why we're in this mess where she spoke about me is because she doesn't know that I made the Kal Vachomer. It's not her fault. How's she so supposed to know I made the Kal Vachomer? So El, the Kal Vachomer, Rahum Hanun, have mercy on her. Not her fault. What does Hashem answer Moshe? He answers him with the Kal Vachomer. Hashem says to Moshe, okay. What? If her father spat in her face, wouldn't she be embarrassed for 7 days? Me, the God of the universe, that gave her salat, she should be embarrassed for 14 days. The Kal Vachomer back to you. Hashem says, the Beis Hai says, Hashem gave you back a Kal Vachomer. There's a Mishleh, I'm going to wrap up in 1 minute. There's a Pesukim in Mishleh that says, Livyat Hen. The Torah gives grace. Livyat Hen. A few times in this Perek in Mishleh, Perek 5, it calls the Torah grace. Hen, grace. Hen is 58. El Nare Fanala. If you open up each letter, El is Aleph Lamed. But if you spell Aleph, Aleph Lamed Pet, that spells Aleph. Lamed. Lamed, Mem, Dalet. If you spell each letter out and you count all the letters, you have 31 letters, which is also the gematria of El. Beis Hai says 31 is the value of the name of Hashem that helps you have a refuah shlema. And so 31, and you learn Torah, which uses the 22 letters plus the 5 Sofit letters, which is 27 letters, 27 Torah, letters of the Hebrew alphabet, plus the 31 letters of Il Narafan Allah is 58, which is exactly Hen. It gives you grace. It makes you feel better. It gives you grace. Your face gets better. The Gemara says in Eruvin, and this will wrap up. The Gemara says in Eruvin, a very famous Gemara, it says, Hash birosho. If you have a headache, what should you do? Ya'asok b'Torah. Just learn Torah. It'll make it better. Gemara says, how do you know? Ki livyat hen hem l'roshecha mishleh. It gives you grace to your head. So if you study Torah, it'll help you. Hash bigerono. You have a throat ache, you have a cold or a flu. Ya'asok b'Torah. Learn Torah. Hash b'me'av. You have a stomach ache. Ya'asok b'Torah. Learn Torah. It'll make you better. Hash b'chol gufo. Hash b'asmotav. Your bones are aching. Ya'asok b'Torah. Learn Torah. Hash b'chol gufo. Your whole body is aching. Ya'asok b'Torah. Just learn Torah. Shne'emad u'chol b'saro hemad peh. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Says the Beis Hai. Moshe Rabbeinu used the Kal Vachomer when he prayed for Miriam, because that's one of the ways we learn Torah. When you learn Torah, and that's why Hashem answered with the Kal Vachomer, because the Beis Hai is saying, Hashem was saying, I like what you're thinking. Use the Kal Vachomer. If you learn Torah Sheba'al Peh, or you commission someone to learn Torah Sheba'al Peh, Torah, Gemara for someone who's not feeling well, that's the best sigula to get better. Says the Beis Hai, this is sigula to get better, is to learn Torah, especially a Kal Vachomer. He writes this, which is a Gemara basically. Any Gemara is going to have a Kal Vachomer. And if you do that, you tap into El Narifan Nala, which is 31, using the letters of the alphabet, which is 27, equals 58, will give the person handle, give the person grace. So the best way to make someone feel better is, yes, to pray, is actually to learn for the person, which we did. When we had someone who was in an accident, we learned all night long for the person. Torah is the best antidote. And so just to wrap it up, on a short class today, we have Miriam talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Isha kushit lakach. He took a kushit. Hey, you can't change your career. Even if you want to be a rabbi, unless he has her permission. She's not born Jewish. You can't assume she's okay with this switch. And she wasn't okay with this switch. But Hashem says it was an exception. In addition, we have the Aleph Bet. Miriam says, Moshe Rabbeinu is Aleph Bet Dalet He. Just missing the Gimel. Aaron, you're Bet Gimel Dalet He. You're missing the Aleph. What's the big deal? You're the same. Hashem says, no, we're not the same. Moshe Rabbeinu made a Kal Vachomer, and he prayed to Hashem, El Narafan Allah, with her pronoun, anonymously, using the Kal Vachomer. It's not her fault. How's she supposed to know? I made a Kal Vachomer. It's not her fault. El. And Hashem answered him back with the Kal Vachomer. Says the Beis Hai, you're good. Pray for her and use Kal Vachomer. Use study of Torah. And what happened? She got better. And that's the antidote. Study Torah for someone, you get better. You can use their name if they're not in front of you. It seems like it's best to use the mother's name, but if you want to use the father's name, kol hakavod, you can use the father's name. If they're in front of you in the room, Don't use their name, and especially if they're suffering or they're having a bad time, la'alenu, and they're with you, don't use the name because you don't want to draw down anything more from that name. Have a nice day. I gotta run. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave this mess like this. My pleasure. My pleasure. Forgive me, guys. I gotta get out of here. Okay, thank you.